today we're going to talk about fish. And, for me, traveling to Japan, I think one of the most amazing things has been fish. And I started going to Japan and I would eat fish in Japan and I'd come back here and I'm like, fish isn't as good as in Japan, and I don't understand why. I mean, we have fresh fish here, right? And we have beautiful fish in America, and so it took me a while to figure out what makes fish cooking in Japan special. And I think there are three things we can talk about right off the bat. One is how you take this beautiful creature, fish, and turn it into food. And the traditional way of killing a fish is very different than in America or in the West. And that's very interesting. And we're going to look at that because we have a live fish that we're going to sacrifice to the altar of education. The second is how you cut that fish and also affects taste. Because one of the things that we'll talk about a little later is in Japanese cooking, cutting is cooking in a lot of ways. We're so familiar with raw fish, but that also applies to fish that's cooked as well. And the third thing that I think would be really interesting to talk about today, and we're going to see it later, is how flavor is created and flavor is balanced. And one of the things that a wise man named Henry Seidel, wherever he is, told me about Japanese cooking as opposed to Western cooking, for example, it's impact versus balance. So if you're talking about French cuisine, you have, you want to have a lot of flavors, a lot of butter, a lot of herbs or spices, and create this crescendo, right? But in Japanese cooking, you want to look for a balance. And what we see in what I see in Japanese cooking, especially with fish, is taking this essence, this beautiful ingredient and flavors of different fish, and balancing them with naturally preserved ingredients like soy sauce, miso, and sake. And those ingredients do more than just add flavor. They also balance the fishiness. And one of the things that I read that was really interesting is that sake itself takes away fishiness from fish. And it's been scientifically proven in the last few years, which is something that Japanese cooks have known for centuries. That's fascinating. The other thing about those three ingredients, and I'll talk very briefly and we'll talk more in a little bit, is that sake, soy sauce, and miso are naturally fermented from koji, which is a mold that grows on rice, and that fermentation creates an incredible amount of flavor, and this flavor that we talk about, umami. And in fact, this is a flavor, it was interesting because I was reading the latest issue of Saveur, and they're talking about how flavor is created in ham, and naturally cured ham, and it gets to the same process of glutamates and creating this kind of umami savoriness. But in Japan, techniques developed to do that with vegetables, without meat. And so in these ingredients create flavor. They also help break down soybeans, so it makes that more nutritious. And it also, these are live enzymes, these are bacteria in these ingredients, and that can affect other foods like fish, and Sono-san's going to talk about that.